Hey there, what's happening everybody? Thanks for joining us today on Cinema Recap. So, we're going to take a look at that survival thriller movie called The Shallows from 2016. Spoilers ahead. We open on a beach. A young boy's playing soccer when he spies a surfing helmet with a GoPro sitting by the water's edge. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he picks up that camera, turns it on. As he's doing that, we just see behind him a surfboard broken in half. And sure enough, what starts off as some young dude surfing soon turns to an all-out shark attack. The little boy flips out when he sees the vision of the shark and immediately sprints away. Cut to what has to be a day or two earlier, and we get to meet Deadpool's wife, Nancy Adams, in a random car driving through a random forest on her way to a random beach. Oh, and there's a random guy sitting next to her too. She's flipping through the photos on her phone to pass some time. The driver spots the photos.
That you in the beach?
She explains that the photos are of her mother, and that the beach, the one they're headed to, is the same one that her mom visited the day she learned that she was pregnant. This little exchange gets the two talking. Important stuff for a movie about a woman trying to survive a killer shark attack. For example, we learn that Nancy is supposed to be meeting a friend at this hidden beach of hers. A short description of her friend here. But this friend of hers is too hungover to make it, which leaves our little Nancy here on her own. And we also learn that Nancy is the reliable one of her friends, or as her driver calls her, she's a friendly girl with a sunny disposition. Even her driver seems to like her. When she tries to pay him for the trip, he turns her down. Apparently he lives nearby, so it was no trouble whatsoever.
Are you sure?
And finally, after much time, she arrives at the beach. And just as she was expecting, it's stunningly gorgeous. Truly breathtaking to look at. All alone now, and as the faithful viewers that we are, we're treated to a quick shot of Nancy stripping down and getting ready to head out surfing. She dives into the water, and from the moment that she does, it's kinda tense. We know the shark's out there somewhere, but she doesn't. So she's paddling out to the break point where a couple of local surfer dudes are catching waves. They seem friendly enough, and over the next few moments they have themselves a shouting conversation. Conversation might seem a little benign, but we get some very important tidbits of info here. For example, the surfer explains to Nancy that when the tide drops, the reef is exposed for a couple of hours and becomes an island. Remember that for later. They also tell you about some red coral, that if it touches you, it burns like a jellyfish sting. Alright, now that that's done with, it's time for surfing. And you all know what that means. Sharks. Nancy gets herself on a wave. She's carving it like a pro. But wait, watch out, it's a… no shark yet, sorry. Just some cool moves. Now a couple of hours pass by, and Nancy heads back to the shore. What a tease. But this scene's important because she manages to call her sister and father, and we get a little more exposition on Nancy and what she's all about. She and her sister seem to have a pretty good relationship.
I love you, sister mama.
And she's super jealous that her sister's off surfing at a secret beach without her. It's also implied that their mother, the one who found the beach, might not be with them anymore. Up next, she's talking to her dad, who gives us a very important piece of information.
Say you're not dropping out of med school after all this time. Just don't quit.
So Nancy wanted to be a doctor but quit. And worse, it's implied that she did it after her mother passed away. Following that phone call, Nancy decides to jump back in the water for a final few hours of surfing. Finally, she paddles out, to which the surfer guys tell her that they're about to bounce and ask if she's coming.
I'm gonna catch one last one.
The surfer guys paddle back to shore, leaving Nancy all on her own. And she can feel it too. As soon as they leave, she becomes all tense and suspicious. She can sense something's in the water near her. She looks about. We get a classic Jaws-styled camera movement from beneath the water, and it's dolphins. Just a pod of happy-go-lucky dolphins jumping through the water. As she's watching the dolphins, her eye lines drag to something in the distance. Something big. For reasons that can only be explained with movie logic, Nancy decides to paddle towards this big dead animal floating in the middle of the ocean. And wouldn't you know it, it's a whale. Blood gushing from its wounds, providing the perfect feeding ground for sharks. She chills for a little and even paddles closer. Hold up. What's beneath her? Oh no. Nancy's sensing it also, but something spooks her, carving across the front as she rides towards the… Oh god, it's a shark. Yo, for real this time. We see it coming through the wave. In 1 minute, Nancy's standing tall on the board, and the next she's flying through the air like a bird. She's getting tossed and tumbling through the water like a piece of seaweed smacking against rocks. Somehow she finds her way to the surface, goes for that board, only for the shark to grab her again. She manages to get free. She starts swimming as fast as she can to that dead whale carcass. We see the shark coming up behind. It's almost at her, but she pulls herself up onto the body just in time. It's about now that she realizes how hopeless her situation is. A little bit of crying, some screaming, and just to rub it in, she sees somebody on the beach. Now, of course, they don't see her. But back to the shark. Looks like the shark has it in for poor Nancy. And seeing as she is safe and sound on that whale, he's gonna have to do something about that. The whale starts to move. Looks like that shark is just dragging the whale carcass. It rocks Nancy about, but she hangs on.
Where are you taking me?
And as she does, she glances around in search of a more stable place to hide out. And from what you can see, she has two options. One's a buoy floating out in the water, but it looks too far away to be a real option. The other's a small reef that's just now starting to emerge with a lowering tide. Nancy gets to her feet, runs along the whale, dives off just as that massive shark rams the whale and sends it flying into the air. Nancy's in the water, swimming for her life towards this little rocky island. Shark right behind her, coming in fast. Nancy manages to scramble on just in time. The shark is persistent and begins to circle that rocky island as if in warning. With her leg still bleeding, Nancy uses her jewelry and bracelets to perform a temporary stitch job on her gash. Once stitched up, she uses her wetsuit to bandage the wound and apply pressure. Now Nancy isn't alone on this little island. There's a wounded seagull there. And together, they wait the night out. Or at least they would if it wasn't so cold. Freezing now, Nancy does some more home modifications on her wetsuit and turns it into some sort of jacket to help keep herself warm. Bear Grylls, eat your heart out. Next up, Nancy tries to eat a couple of crabs that scuttle across the rock, but as you're about to see. And as she's lying on that rocky island, Nancy spies her surfboard floating not too far away. A moment of bravery sees her slip into the water to try and go for it. But then she spots that pesky shark fin and has to hurry back to safety. A shark's not giving up. Nancy's in luck though. It's now that she notices a random drunk passed out on the beach. A little bit of screaming got his attention, and soon he spots her. She's saved. Nah. Yeah, he goes to rob her instead. And even better, he sees the surfboard in the water and decides to go for that too. Nancy notices what he's doing, and bless her heart, she tries to warn him. Not that it does much good, because the drunk wades into the water to grab that board, and the next minute, he's being torn apart by that hungry shark. Can't help but feel he deserved it though. It's the next morning, 6 hours to high tide, which means 6 hours till Nancy's refuge is underwater. But more luck, because the surfer guys from yesterday are back. Nancy sees him coming and tries to warn him. Oh, they really should have taken her up on that warning. But of course they ignore her and start paddling out to where she is, all smiles and laughter until suddenly that damn shark spears through the air and tackles one of the surfers. Well, the next one panics and paddles away, headed for Nancy. She's screaming for him to hurry up, but that shark is on him too. Dead. Oh wait, he somehow managed to pull away from the shark. Nancy tries to help out, but the shark grabs the poor guy and drags him back down to the ocean. Alone once again. It's just Nancy and the seagull. In a moment of humanity, Nancy snatches that seagull up and tries to fix its broken wing. It bites at her, but ultimately you can tell it's grateful. Now Nancy's not about to give up lying down. She spots the GoPro bobbing in the water not too far away. For whatever reason she wants to get to it, she has to trick that shark. We watch as she watches the shark circling her, timing to see how long it takes to do one full lap. Each time is the same.
I got you.
Starting to think that this is one of the sharks from Deep Blue Sea. It's that smart. With the shark's lap time now recorded, Nancy chooses the perfect time to jump into the water and get the camera. It's pretty close, but she just makes it. At one point, that darn shark nearly throws itself onto dry land just to snap her up. But she has that camera now and eagerly looks through it. The first thing she notices is that the shark pulled away when its face struck the coral. See? The second thing she spots is a hook in the shark's mouth.
Someone got you.
Nancy then uses the camera to record a message, just in case she doesn't make it. Part of the message is a call for help to anyone who finds the camera. The other half of it is for her loved ones, in case she doesn't make it. Her plan is to swim to the buoy that's floating out in the ocean. But it's pretty far, and she's feeling that it's too far to swim. And before wading back into the water, she puts the seagull onto the broken board and sends it back to the sea. But now it's time for her to take the plunge. Just as she's about to dive into the water, however, she notices an entire school of jellyfish popping up right between her and the buoy. At first she's angry, but then she realizes that she can use this. The shark hates the jellyfish, and in this, Nancy sees her salvation. She waits until the shark is as far away as possible, then she goes for it, dives into the water and heads straight for those jellies. She swims between them, using them as a shield between her and the shark. We get a pretty cool moment of her appreciating the beauty of jellyfish. Until one of them stings the hell out of her arm. After that, she's up and through the water headed for the buoy. She makes it, of course. Oh God, the handle snaps off. She falls back into the water and stabs the shark with the hunk of metal. Then she's back on that buoy just as the shark throws itself at her. But she's safe. For now. Tucked away inside the buoy, Nancy sees a ship in the distance. Thinking quickly, she scurries up the buoy and grabs the flare gun stored inside. Naturally, she drops the flares into the water and has to fish one of them out. Which she does without getting her hand bitten off. But the flare's a dud and fizzles out without doing much of anything. But Nancy's not giving up. She uses her wetsuit like MacGyver to create a bungee cord. This propels her into the water safely. She then eagerly uses that flare gun and… yes! That flare shoots into the air and… nothing. Oh, the boat's gone. Bummer. And to make matters worse, there's a freaking storm coming. Meanwhile, we cut to the beach where the boy from the first scene's running along playing soccer. He finds the camera with Nancy's message, and for a moment, there's actual hope. Not that Nancy knows it, she's still stuck on the buoy, but because it's a movie, I sense she's not about to give up so easily. We get a voiceover here to confirm it.
I'm gonna fight just like she taught us.
Ding ding, final round. Nancy versus Shark. Who's gonna win? The shark gets the first hit. It rams itself against the buoy and snaps one of the chains. But Nancy gets in a good return. She aims her flare right at that shark, manages to hit it on the side. 1 point for each. The shark comes back around at her with the buoy now only on the one chain. It dips and dives into the water, almost throwing Nancy back in. She climbs higher up the buoy, flare in hand, searching for the shark. She sees it coming.
Fuck you.
She takes aim with her final flare and fires that flare again. It lights the water up this time, setting that shark fin on fire. 2 points to Nancy. No, wait. The whole shark's on fire. It jumps out of the water, lit up like the 4th of July, but then sinks back down into the water and throws its whole body into the buoy. It snaps it up, tears at it, and snaps the second chain. Nancy hanging on for dear life, not looking good. She gets thrown back into the water. Exposed. She's trying to climb back into the cage around the buoy. But the shark's still out there, circling, waiting for the right time to… oh no, there it is, coming from underneath this time. It snaps and snarls and tries to snag Nance. But that's when she sees it, the anchor down at the bottom of the ocean that ties to the buoy. That thing's all sharp bits of metal and spikes. Not to mention a long shot, but hey, have you been watching the movie? Nancy's in the water. She grabs a hold of the chain that leads to the anchor. The shark's attacking the buoy still. Tears the final chain off. This sends Nancy down into the depths of the water, right for that anchor. Shark spots her and charges. The shark's right behind Nancy. She sees the jagged spikes like spears coming right at her. The shark is on her heel, mouth open ready to take that final bite, and then… final score. Nancy 1, Shark 0. Meanwhile, the boy on the beach brought his father back, and wouldn't you know it, it's the driver from earlier. He spots Nancy in the water and pulls her to shore. She wakes up a few moments later, relieved to be on dry land. Hey, and the seagull's there too, just to make for a happy reunion. Next, we skip forward 1 year to a beach in Texas, and apart from some serious mental trauma and a scar on her knee, Nancy's looking to be doing perfectly fine. Hey, she even became a doctor.
Ready to get wet, Dr. Adams?
Even better, she seems to have come to grips with her mom's death finally. Nancy and her sister dive into the water, paddle out, all laughs and smiles, and we can't help but think that maybe the shark trying to kill her was a good thing. Because you know, character growth and everything. Well, that's the message I'm going with anyway. Thanks for chilling with us on the recap, The Shallows. Produced by Columbia Pictures, released back in 2016. You know, we love a good shark attack scene. What shark attack moment was your favorite from this movie? Let us know with that hashtag Cinema Recap in the comments. And as always, till next time.